What is going on, world? What's up, everyone? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new show, guys, on the YouTube channel that of course is live here on Twitch. And I'm super excited about it, guys. As I had stated in yesterday's show, talking about our very first episode of the Gears Cast, which is of course, Gears of War show and podcast that is going to be every single week. This, guys, is the Resistance. This is the Watch Dogs podcast, which I had mentioned yesterday, is going to be going live on Twitch every Tuesday, and you'll be able to watch it, of course, on the YouTube channel on Tuesdays as well if you miss the show here on Twitch. And so I'm super excited about this, guys. This is the Resistance. Welcome to the Resistance, the Watch Dogs podcast. And Watch Dogs, guys, you guys can check out all of my Watch Dogs content on the YouTube channel, which we have been talking a lot about Watch Dogs Legion, which is, of course, the upcoming title coming out in October from Ubisoft, the third edition and continuation of the franchise. And so what I wanted to go ahead and do, guys, is let you all know what the Resistance is, obviously being a Watch Dogs podcast, but I want to go based on, and talk about the structure of the show and what you guys can expect here in, of course, our first episode of the Resistance. So let's get into it. So the way the show is structured, guys, is we're going to go based on and talk about a few different topics related to the Watch Dogs universe and such that I choose, and that some of viewer submitted questions and such. And we are going to talk about a few different topics in the show. I'll give you guys my thoughts on those topics, and then I'm going to pass it on to all of you if there's any questions that you guys have in regard to the topics at hand or the topics of the day in the show. I will go ahead and answer those live here on Twitch. And if you're watching this as a VOD on YouTube, of course, you guys can ask those questions in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to answer some of those questions, maybe even on a future show. So once again, guys, this is the very first episode of the Resistance, and what I will say is that, of course, guys, we've already I gave you guys the schedule of events that's going to be happening on Twitch now. So we, of course, have on Monday, we have the Gears of War show, the Gears Cast. This, of course, is the Resistance, which is the Watch Dogs podcast. Saturday and Sunday is our, of course, 8 Below show on Saturday, which is what a lot of you are already accustomed to, and Sunday is a Q&A show. And so we've got 5 different shows, guys, that being Gears of War, Watch Dogs, Call of Duty, and then, of course, The Last of Us and StarCraft. All of these are shows that are going to be coming out on a weekly basis, Monday through Friday. And then, as I said, Saturday and Sunday is the 8 Below show and a Q&A that will be going directly on the YouTube channel. Those will not be streamed live on Twitch. Well, with that, let's get into the show notes as to what we're going to be talking about on this very first episode of the Resistance. We're going to be talking a lot about Watch Dogs Legion, guys, because this is the upcoming title coming out from, in the Watch Dogs universe. And so I want to go ahead and talk about our thoughts on Watch Dogs Legion and what this is at this very moment in time, why I believe this could be one of the biggest, the biggest game within the series so far. And then I also want to talk, guys, about some of the multiplayer aspects of Watch Dogs Legion. I want to talk about, the questions that are starting to come out regarding Watch Dogs Legion and the multiplayer, what multiplayer modes are going to be in this game, so on and so forth. And then I also want to talk about, guys, with the ever-changing landscape in gaming, there's a lot of, free-to-play games out there. And I want to talk about if there's any aspects of Watch Dogs Legion that we may see free-to-play at some point or another in, this game's, history, that being, of course, Watch Dogs Legion coming out later this year. And then lastly, I also want to talk about, what Watch Dogs Legion needs to do as far as really not only putting Watch Dogs on the map once again, but what it really needs to do in order to kind of sustain a really solid Obviously, Watch Dogs has a great fan base, but what I mean is that it needs to have a solid, viewership, and we'll get to that about talking about on Twitch as well as on YouTube and such, and what we can do as a community to help continue growing the Watch Dogs franchise as a whole. So that's the show, guys, and of course afterwards I'll give you guys my thoughts on these topics, and then I'll pass it on to you guys if you guys have any questions, and I will go ahead and answer those here live on the show. So let's get started, guys. So what I wanted to talk about is, what Watch Dogs Legion can do and how Watch Dogs Legion will be the best and the biggest game in the series up to this point. So let's talk about that. Watch Dogs Legion, guys, I think that there was definitely a reason that Ubisoft decided to go in the direction of calling this game right off the bat Watch Dogs Legion over that of Watch Dogs 3. Even though it's a continuation off of Watch Dogs 2, I think that Legion was this idea that, not that they're doing a soft reboot, but they want this to stand alone in a way. Even though it's a continuation off of the first two games, I think that they want this game to kind of stand alone. They want this to be their flagship, title in this franchise. They want this to be the biggest game that they've ever done. And I think that what we've seen so far from gameplay, as well as from of course, the reveal trailers, everything we've seen so far tells me that this will absolutely be the biggest in the series. Is it going to be the best is another question, but I think that it's definitely going to be the biggest. This is the most ambitious project when we talk about from the Watch Dogs universe as a whole. And there's been a lot of speculation as well as concern that Watch Dogs Legion is the biggest that they've ever, made in this franchise. However, since you're able to recruit so many people into the Resistance, there's not going to be really any one given character that you can connect to in the campaign. And so, honestly, guys, I can totally see that argument, but at the same time, I think that this is a very unique title, to say the least. This seems to be very unique, at least from, in my personal opinion. I love the concept of, sure, we're not going to be able to connect with any one character, but it's not so much about any one character. It's about the totality of the Resistance. DedSec, it is about this movement, this resistance, and kind of tackling every mission that is needed here in order to obtain victory. And I think that is a really cool concept, in my opinion. It's a different direction, sure, but I think that this is one that could definitely pay off. It feels very much so, guys, that this is a title that has a ton of opportunity to really put this franchise in the forefront and be the biggest as well as the best in the franchise moving forward. So I believe, guys, from the campaign side of things, I definitely think that it's going to be the biggest in the franchise. From a multiplayer perspective, even though we don't know a lot yet about the multiplayer, I think that if they elaborate on what, they offered us in Watch Dogs 2, they could certainly be on the right track. I think having those PvP elements is going to be very important. Having co-op is important as well. Even PvE will be, something that I'm sure a lot of us are going to want as well. But all in all, having a full package in Watch Dogs Legion is going to be a really important thing moving into this title for this franchise. I think that when we look at Watch Dogs, and up to this point, I mean, when we look on Twitch, the amount of people streaming Watch Dogs 2, the amount of people watching it, the same thing with the first one, it's not that many. I think that there needs to be a lot of other ways that we can connect with this game outside of just the campaign. Sure, co-op, after you're done playing the story, having ways you can play with your friends, like in a co-op format, whether that's co-op missions or going up against, enemies in a PvE format, or having multiplayer aspects where you're going up against other individuals out there. And I think there's a ton of different ways that they could do that, and having a number of different modes out there. And so that, of course, guys, is another way that I think that Watch Dogs Legion, it's going to be really important that they hook you not just from the campaign perspective, not just from the co-op perspective, not just from the multiplayer, having the totality of it being something that you don't go to another game after you beat the campaign. You go back to the game and you play the co-op, you play the multiplayer, and you stay a part of this franchise for a long period of time. I felt it really important that I greenlit The Resistance, this show, on Twitch, and also, of course, that goes up on YouTube later. I thought that it was really important to do this because I think that we as a community need to be talking about Watch Dogs, not just, playing the game on Twitch and seeing some of the numbers. I know that there's a really passionate fan base here within this game and this franchise as a whole. So I thought it was really important moving into Watch Dogs Legion to greenlight a show that is all about Watch Dogs and about the future, about the past, the present, where we stand at this point. I'm very excited for the future of Watch Dogs Legion, guys, in the future of this franchise, what this game could do leading us into the next generation of Watch Dogs games, which we'll get to here later. But I definitely want to know from you guys, what do you guys think about this? Will Watch Dogs Legion be the biggest title in the Watch Dogs franchise? Is this going to be enough changes, enough additions that are going to keep us hooked for a long period of time after launch? Let me know what you guys think in the live chat or in the comment section down below. And with that, guys, I want to go ahead and move us into the second segment of this show. I want to talk about the multiplayer modes here. And I think it's really important that we talk about this, in its totality, multiplayer as a whole, and how Watch Dogs or, Ubisoft can evolve the multiplayer. So let's talk about it. I'm going to take reference to an article here that was written by Tom Power of GamePure. Is there multiplayer in Watch Dogs Legion? Can I form a DedSec squad with my friends? And so it won't be long until we all get to play Watch Dogs Legion. The next entry in Ubisoft's third-person action-adventure series is out on October 29th. And the London-based game looks like it'll be full of numerous fun ways to reclaim the streets from the villainous Albion. Will Sitza laughed, to take down your foes single-handedly. Things are always better with friends along for the ride. That's why many fans wonder if Watch Dogs Legion will have multiplayer or co-op functionality when it launches later this year. The answer is yes. So Watch Dogs Legion will support multiplayer, but there's a catch. The official website reveals that you can team up with your buddies to take down Albion with 2 to 4 player co-op supported. However, you won't be able to play multiplayer locally. Clicking on the Watch Dogs Legion game info section of the menu bar shows that online co-op will be the only multiplayer mode supported from launch day. That means that you and up to 3 friends can't pile around to someone's house and play it in couch co-op mode. As such, you'll need a stable internet connection to game with your friends. So I want to talk about this because Watch Dogs Legion has a real opportunity. And if anyone out there from Ubisoft is listening that's working on Watch Dogs Legion, believe me when I tell you there is an absolute need with this franchise, in my opinion, to... Sure, have co-op is great. I'm excited about that. Multiplayer, being able to play with your friends and take down Albion with your friends is a big deal. But at the end of the day, after you're done playing the campaign, even if, let's say you play the campaign by yourself one time and then you play co-op with your friends, after you play it once or twice, you're going to move on to other games. I think it's really important that multiplayer is added here in a PvE format, which of course sounds like what they're doing here with online co-op. But they're also talking about, from even an aspect of multiplayer where you're playing PvP. I think that's incredibly important moving into Watch Dogs Legion. Now look, if they don't add it immediately at launch and they decide to add it later on down the road, I would be okay with that, but the fact is that this needs to happen in order for, in my opinion, the sustainability of Watch Dogs Legion long term. They need to have multiplayer. They have to have other ways outside of just the main campaign and story, I believe, which we got in Watch Dogs 2. We need to have, I think continuations, but also like the evolution of that moving forward. Having a full package justifies the price tag of $60. as a whole. Having campaign multiplayer co-op modes is a huge way that you can, of course, package this thing together. I think Watch Dogs Legion is going to sell very well, but I think the way that they're going to have a sustainable ecosystem of people playing it on a regular basis is based on the multiplayer more so than the campaign and more so than the co-op. People play the campaign in a major way. I will be as well. That's what Watch Dogs is really known for. But I think having multiplayer brings you back consistently over and over again. So I really hope that they are consistently adding, multiplayer modes and such, even if it's after launch. Watch Dogs Legion's multiplayer functionality has plenty to offer by the sounds of things, though. New missions and endgame content will be available if you squad up, so it looks as if it'll be worth forming your own 4-person DedSec team and eradicating Albion from London. So now one thing I didn't mention was about the endgame. So it sounds like the endgame content, guys, it sounds like this is going to be maybe something similar to like the Division, which I get this concept, but I do believe, guys, having PvP is going to be a really great way that you can have, things outside of the co-op and such. Adding new missions and all of that is great. We'll have to kind of wait and see what this all looks like. I just don't know if I don't really like that they're not really planning a more traditional multiplayer experience. Endgame content, I'm sure, will be cool. We'll definitely talk about that on future episodes of The Resistance, and what that all could really entail. But it's hard to say what that is going to be exactly. If it's going to be exactly kind of like the Division or whatever the case might be. I just feel there's so much opportunity here with Watch Dogs Legion, and I hope that all of these different things that they're adding, that being like online co-op, the endgame content, new missions and such, I hope that's enough that keeps us engaged for years and years to come. But I just don't know if I feel confident that it will be if they aren't kind of doing the PvP elements to multiplayer. But we'll have to wait and see, guys. I definitely want to hear from all of you, though. What do you guys think about this? With Watch Dogs Legion, would you want there to be more of a traditional multiplayer, or like some, modes from Watch Dogs 2 coming into Watch Dogs Legion, and even elaboration on that, a continuation, but even some other traditional modes outside of it? What would you guys think about that? Let me know in the comment section down below or in the live chat, and let's have a real conversation about it. The topic I also want to talk about here within Watch Dogs Legion, and this kind of, we kind of alluded to this earlier in the show, about free-to-play elements to Watch Dogs Legion. Now, obviously, guys, a full package deal, when we talk about a full package game, that it sounds, like a lot of games out there do. Like, I'll give you an example. Call of Duty does a great job of creating this full package deal. It justifies a $60 price tag. They give you a campaign, which is, usually a great experience. Full-blown multiplayer experiences, and usually co-op experiences like Spec Ops, Zombies, things of that nature. And then on top of that, they have free-to-play modes, more recently with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, with Call of Duty Warzone. So what I'm getting at is, they have done a great job over at Call of Duty creating a full package that justifies the $60 price tag. What I would like to see with Watch Dogs Legion is some free-to-play elements to this game. Now, whether it's the multiplayer, whether it's, it most likely isn't going to be the campaign. It's not going to most likely be, co-op, unless they have like a free co-op weekend or something. What I'm looking at is the multiplayer aspect of Watch Dogs Legion, which we just talked about being that there really isn't much outside of, co-op, playing co-op with your friends to take down Albion. So what I'm getting at here is having free to play and having some multiplayer modes, even if they're just, relatively cookie cutter multiplayer modes that you're able to continue connecting with the franchise and to play with your friends or play with other people across the world. What it does, guys, is it builds the community more and more in a major way. Now, look, the endgame content and the new missions that they add after launch could be something really special. We're going to have to wait and see, but I'm just getting at that if they were to have some PvP elements and we're able to play those free with our friends or just with anyone out there in the world playing Watch Dogs Legion, I think it's going to get so many other people out there to at least try the game. It's going to put a lot of eyeballs on Watch Dogs Legion. Now, we all know that most likely Ubisoft is going to pay some, big streamers, big creators to go ahead and create content around the game early so people can see that. But we've seen them do this before with like Hyperscape, and Hyperscape's numbers are not, great. I mean, they're okay, but they're not like incredible numbers across the board. And a lot of the big streamers aren't even streaming the game at this point. So what I'm getting at, guys, is that even if they promote it through streamers and content creators, that doesn't promise that these streamers and content creators are going to be playing it for the long term. It's going to be us as, a community to really help, get this game to another level, from creating consistent content, from, of course, playing the game on a regular basis, streaming it, supporting our favorite streamers, supporting our favorite content creators. That's all going to be really important down the stretch here with Watch Dogs Legion. And free to play would at least get people to try the game out, and that's what I'm getting at here. It would at least get people to try this thing out, to really give at least a chance to play Watch Dogs Legion from a multiplayer perspective. And if people enjoyed it, which some would certainly enjoy it, they may buy the full copy to play the campaign, to play the co-op modes with their friends, to play that end game content, to play some of the new missions as they come out. I think that's all really important. And I do think that if Watch Dogs Legion does not add any types of, multiplayer modes in Watch Dogs Legion, they should at least make the DLC, the endgame content, the new missions and such, all free DLC if you buy a copy of the game. I think that's incredibly important for Watch Dogs Legion, guys. Please, Ubisoft, if anybody from Ubisoft is listening to this, please, if you're not gonna have multiplayer modes in the game, which I really think would be smart, even if they were just, things from the past, like Watch Dogs 2 or whatever the case might be, I think it is incredibly important that the DLC is free to play for those who purchase the game. And we don't know this yet. I'll have to give you guys more information as that comes out regarding that. But I think that really keeps the community together. It doesn't. I noticed with Call of Duty, when there were games in the franchise in the past that would have payable DLC, it split the community in half. Some people weren't buying the DLC, others did. And so what I'm getting at is it keeps the community together. Everyone's playing together or continuing to play. And that, of course, guys, Watch Dogs Legion is most likely going to have some form of microtransactions in it. But I think if you have free-to-play elements like free DLC, free multiplayer modes, and things of that nature, it justifies having, having microtransactions in the game, as long as they're not deceptive to the consumers. So, will we get free-to-play elements in Watch Dogs Legion? I absolutely hope so. At the very least, I would love to have free DLC, free endgame content, free, new missions that come out along the journey of Watch Dogs Legion. I'll be sure to give you guys more information as it comes out. But do you guys think we'll get some free-to-play content? Do you guys think we will be able to, they'll add multiplayer modes down the road that'll be free-to-play? Do you think that they'll have new missions and DLC that will be free? Let me know what you guys think. And for more content, guys, based around the free-to-play elements of Watch Dogs Legion, stay here with Zero TV. One thing that I keep on talking about, how it's so important that Watch Dogs Legion absolutely knocks it out of the park in a major way. Should say Ubisoft knocking, Watch Dogs Legion out of the park, is because for us that enjoy this franchise and that want to see the continuation of it in a major way, this has to land well with us as players, us as creators, as streamers, as just as a community at large. It really has to do well. And for me, more than that, is the legacy here of Watch Dogs Legion. What this game can do is set up the next generation of Watch Dogs games in a major way. So what do I mean by that? Well, Watch Dogs Legion can do something really special here. over time, obviously, I believe Ubisoft has learned what they've done right, what they've done wrong, and what they need to do better moving forward with Watch Dogs. You know, the first Watch Dogs, I thought, you know, I mean, sure, there were some issues with each of these games, with Watch Dogs 1 and 2. There's always going to be issues with any game that comes out. I don't care what title it is, guys. There's always going to be some issues here or there. It's about how you address those things and how you move forward. And so I think that with Watch Dogs 2, to me, was a game that was incredibly underrated. It did not get the spotlight because I think when it released, it was being released around other titles that were coming out. I believe like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was coming out, amongst other titles around that time, which kind of drew the attention away from Watch Dogs 2 to other games. And so what I'm getting at here is this game has got to get knocked out of the park in a major way. I think that it had a really good chance to be something special had it been released originally. I believe it was March was when it was going to come out here in 2020, and it got postponed probably for two reasons. Number one was they wanted to have more time to work on it. Lots of games out there have been getting postponed, AAA titles. That's nothing new. And, you know, lastly, the pandemic going on. They wanted to make sure that they had plenty of time to be able to, you know, promote this game and kind of get it to a place that they felt comfortable. And so with this game releasing in October, it's given the developers more time to prepare and such for it. But the problem with that is now later in the fall, you've got a ton of games that are going to be coming out. This is a game that's probably going to be competing against other titles, especially coming out around the same time as, you know, the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. You've got the new Call of Duty coming out, Assassin's Creed. Even Ubisoft's own titles coming out later this year. So what I'm getting at is there's going to be a lot of stiff competition later this year. And so this game has got to do well in a major way if we want to see the continuation of this franchise moving forward. So what can we do? Well, number one, guys, we got to support Ubisoft in, you know, what they're doing in their vision for Watch Dogs Legion moving forward, okay? And I'm going to support their decisions as to what they're planning on doing with Watch Dogs Legion, you know, up until launch, you know, post-launch, so on and so forth. I will certainly voice my opinion when there's things that I don't like about it or I do really like about it to try to help make the game better. And that's the point of this show, guys, is we want to talk about everything in regard to Watch Dogs in the future of this franchise and what it's going to, you know, what we want to see moving forward so that this can be a very sustainable title that not only gets Watch Dogs Legion but greenlights a number of titles after this. Guys, there's so much potential here with Watch Dogs Legion. I think it's got some of the most potential that we see in gaming, you know, up and coming here. I think from a customization perspective, the amount of customization you can probably do in this game, and ideas that could come around with it, and to playing with your friends, to the multiplayer elements, to the campaign being, you know, something that you really sink your teeth into. This has special written all over it. Like it could be a really special title and could really set up the next generation of Watch Dogs games for the future. And that's what I really want to see, guys. So what can we do? I think the biggest thing, like I said, is supporting Ubisoft, right? The second thing is voicing our opinion when we need to, though. You know, when there's things and problems that come up or, you know, issues that we find that arise at some point or another, it's going to be incredibly important for us as a fan base to, you know, voice our concerns and what we think needs to happen moving forward for the game to continue being, you know, sustainable. Also, though, we've really got to, like, if you're a content creator, guys, and you enjoy Watch Dogs, create content around this game, guys. If you're a streamer and you love Watch Dogs, you know, stream this game. Look, guys, this is a game that is at like the inception of what could be the next really huge title. And obviously Ubisoft, this is a big title for them, right? From a sales perspective. But I'm talking from a content creation and and streaming perspective. This is a game that is primed to take off with Watch Dogs Legion. So stream the game. Create content around the game. So if you're a viewer and you really enjoy watching, you know, Watch Dogs, make sure that you're, you know, supporting your favorite streamers, supporting your favorite content creators. It's going to be incredibly important moving into Watch Dogs Legion, guys. We as a community have to work together to make this thing really special. And so those are kind of like the steps that we can take as of right now, creating content, streaming, supporting Ubisoft, and, you know, voicing our concern. I mean, I voiced my concern in this episode, very first episode of the Resistance podcast, talking about, you know, just my concern about not really having many multiplayer elements. We're going to have to wait and see as time comes about endgame content and things of that nature. But I do have some concerns about it, and I want to, you know, address those things, and I'm hoping Ubisoft addresses those things at some point or another. But with that, guys, I would love to hear your thoughts about this in the comment section down below or in the live chat, what you guys think about, you know, Watch Dogs Legion and what we got to do in order to really set up the next generation of Watch Dogs games for the future, that this isn't the last title in this franchise, that this is a very long drawn out franchise moving forward. Let me know, guys, and for more Watch Dogs content and Resistance content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of The Resistance. And if you guys did, make sure you guys leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.